Hello there, Grateful Gang. It's Lauren Blanchard-Zaleski here. Welcome to Gratefully Living the Chronic Life. I come to you every week on Thursday evenings, or evening my time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And each week we talk about a different topic pertaining to living our best lives, finding joy and hope with kind of geared towards chronic pain and illness, but I'm finding that the audience is much more well-rounded than that. It's really kind of any kind of pain, emotional and physical. And I'm finding that just about everybody has both. So I hope you find something that you relate to tonight. I've got an amazing guest joining us. Her name is Hale. She's a certified positive psychology life coach and a personal friend of mine. So I can't wait to share her with you all. She's got 5 action steps towards a happier life. And I think you're going to love what she has to say. I know you're going to love what she has to say. And I think you're going to relate to it all. So we are an interactive broadcast. We are related, by the way, if you haven't watched before, this is our 48th episode. I started this last year, right around the time the pandemic started. And I'm coming to you live on a platform called StreamYard, which is great. And the great thing about it is we can be interactive. So for example, Sarah Garrison. Hello. Hey, Sarah. Hello, Lauren and other grateful tears. We are interactive. So please send in your comments, questions. I will try to get as many of them on the screen as I can, but we really like to be interactive so you feel a part of the conversation, and we do have a great conversation for you tonight. So I have had a very busy and good week this week. A lot of amazing things have been happening. So first, I don't even know where to begin with all the great things. The first one I will share with you, I became this week a Facebook certified community manager. What does this mean? This is a 2-hour exam that I took. See, there's my little badge. I'm very proud of it because I worked so hard for it. It was really difficult, but it was worth it. So it was this class that I took. So I've mentioned in our group Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain many times that I am a part of this invite-only group, North American Power Admins on Facebook. So it's admins of groups that are highly engaged on Facebook. So it's a real honor to be a part of that. And for the month of May, they were offering a free voucher to take this class to become the Facebook certified community manager. And so I wanted to do it. I didn't really know what it was, but I wanted to take part in it just so I could be up to date and know Facebook in and out and try to be the best admin of the group that I can possibly be. I had no idea how difficult this thing was. And it wasn't really geared specifically towards group admins. It was for people that run Facebook pages. So like brands and things like that. So pages, groups, Messenger, WhatsApp, and Instagram. Those are all the 5 Facebook platforms and how you can like go cross-platform and all that. So I studied, and I don't know if she's watching, but my new mentor and friend, Linda Porter, who helped me study, she helped get the program off and running about a year ago. I never would have passed without her. It was a 2-hour proctored live exam. You cannot touch your face. You cannot look away. You have to sit there in the camera while somebody is watching you and take this exam. Now, I felt I was fully, I was ready, and I just barely passed. But a pass is a pass. I did just barely pass. But so I got that this week. The other thing I hinted last week, but now I can share it's official. I signed a book deal. Last week. I have told many of you, I've told all of you actually, if you've been watching the show, that I've been working on my own book called Chronically Grateful. Recently, I've been working on it for 5 years, but recently I took like a writing sabbatical from the group to work on the book. I finished a first draft. I shared it last week. And then, plot twist, I had a publisher reach out to me and ask me if I would be interested in authoring a gratitude journal for teenage boys. So my original instinct was to say no, and so I could work on my book. And then I talked to my friend Jill Cook, who may be watching. Hey, Jill, who is a teacher, a retired teacher, or teacher on disability. And she reminded me that teenage boys are a very forgotten subset when it comes to mental health and mental and emotional health. So I really considered it. I talked to the publisher to see if I felt like I was a good fit, and they obviously had to see if I was a good fit. And I'm very, very proud to say that I signed the contract last week. And so the book is going to be called The 5-Minute Gratitude Journal for Teen Boys, Quick Prompts for Wisdom, Courage, and Confidence. And it's going to be put out by Rockridge Press. Release date tentatively for November 30th, so in time for the holidays. And I feel just so amazing. I can't believe how life happens, and I'm really up for the challenge of trying to make gratitude kind of relevant for didn't mean to show that, for teenage boys. It'll be a challenge, but I am up for the challenge. So there's that. If you are owed a prize from me from past episodes, I haven't forgotten about you. It's just been a little nutty, as I've just said. So your prizes are coming, I promise. So I haven't forgotten about you. Real quickly, because I want to get Dawn on the air. I don't want to take up so much of the hour, but maybe about 6 weeks or so ago, I had my friend Nicole Spatafora on the show. She's the one who, our topic was dirt therapy, and she shared with us how to be at one with nature, how to find gratitude through nature. So I kind of called myself out and my lack of ability to grow a plant. And I showed this plant that Nicole had given me. I think we determined it was 15 years ago. And if you watched the episode, I showed this really sorry looking plant with this much soil in the pot and like a funky stem sticking out of it, and it was practically dead, but it still grows. And that's the story of that plant for the past 15 years. Anyway, my husband Rob saw the episode. He's like, this is ridiculous. He put soil in the plant, and this is the plant. It's got a flower on it. So Nick, if you're watching, this is our Bob Voigt plant. So amazing what a little soil and water will do. So quite amazing. Real quickly, we've got some great guests coming up. Last week, I shared that I stalked the author and editor of this book, How to Love the World, Poems of Gratitude and Hope, edited by James Cruz. I shared that I stalked him last week. Well, my stalking came through because he's going to be a guest on the show on June 24th. And then he told me about a friend of his who is a mind-body life coach specializing in chronic pain. Michelle Wiegers is her name. She's going to be on with me on June 10th. In July, we have Dr. Steve Overman coming on. He's the one who co-wrote the book You Don't Look Sick with Joy Selleck, who was on the show a few weeks ago. And Toni Bernhard is going to be back on with me, author Toni Bernhard, who writes about chronic pain and illness. She's coming on sometime this summer. So we've got some great guests coming up. But without further ado, I want to bring Dawn on, who's sitting there backstage. Dawn, there's Dawn. Hey, Dawn.
Hello.
Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Dawn is, let me just say, Dawn is a certified positive psychology life coach, and she has been voted for the past 5 years in a row the #1 life coach in our county. We live in a very large county in New Jersey. I told you I'd embarrass you. We do. It's very vast, a lot of farmland and stuff, but it's a big county with a lot of people, and she's been voted consistently #1 for the past 5 years. I know her, we've been friends for a while. The reason why I wanted her to come on the show with you is because I've always admired Dawn. She has such a light and a positive attitude about her. And I told her before we came on the air that I would rather have no guest come on the show than somebody who doesn't kind of align with the mission of what I try to share each week. So that's why Dawn is on with me. Let me read you a little bio about Dawn, and then I'll let you talk, Dawn. But I want to tell you guys how she kind of where she comes from. So at age 35, this is in Dawn's words, I had a wonderful family, lovely home, supportive husband, and great career. Yet day after day, I found myself counting the minutes until I could have my next glass of Chardonnay. Ooh, this sounds familiar. I grew tired of living my life that way. I knew something had to change. Today, I no longer feel the compulsion to reach for that glass of wine. I'd like to share the freedom I've obtained as a result of letting go of alcohol's grip over me. It wasn't easy and I could not do it alone, but I can help you. I have 18 years of experience in life, career, and recovery coaching in Hunterdon and Somerset Counties, New Jersey, with a master's degree in teaching from Brown University, wow, and studies in alcohol and drug counseling. I've taught hundreds of people how to transform their lives. Recently, I also opened an office in Jackson, Wyoming. Now, with the growing availability of video conferencing, I can help you no matter where you live. Sometimes alcohol can get in the way of self-fulfillment and self-actualization, but with the right practices, support, and mindset, it can possibly be a part of your life. Whether you want to manage your use of alcohol or stop drinking completely, I've got a proven toolbox for creating authentic contentment and joy over the long haul. So without further ado, let Dawn talk. Dawn, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Congratulations on your Facebook Certified Community Manager.
Thank you.
And the book deal for boys. I think that's wonderful. We need more gratitude. Actually, it should be taught in the schools. But so my background, as you know, part of it is I'm a woman in long-term recovery. I've been sober for over 25 years. And
congratulations.
Thank you. I've worked in outpatient facilities, and then I started my own practice as a life coach, helping other people than just beyond addictions. However, addiction is a mental illness, as is depression, and they are chronic, painful conditions. And they may not be they're the invisible ones, which could be lupus, but could also be, mental illnesses. And they're painful and it makes life challenging. So and sadly, people with chronic pain often end up addicted. So to pain meds, and we know this crisis. So there's a lot I studied in as a certified alcohol and drug counselor, but I became interested in something called positive psychology. I don't know if your listeners are familiar with it. Marty Seligman. It came up briefly. For many years, psychology was all about things that didn't work. What was wrong with you? Neuroses and psychoses. And when Martin Seligman was voted in as president of the American Society of American Society of Psychiatrists, he decided to put the focus on what does work. And people were like, how do you measure that? Well, you measure happiness the same way you can measure depression. And his goal was to find out how are people happy? How can they become happier? What are they doing? And these are often skills and tools that can be taught to increase a person's level of happiness. You've got the major one, gratitude. And I think what you've done for your community is such a gift. And taking the pain of it's a beautiful thing, from the pain of your condition. We get information, but we can do something with that, which would be transformation, which is what you've done. You've had a transformation in yourself and helping others as well with this horrible condition. So how do we do that? As we mentioned, I had a few suggestions, and the first one is acceptance.
I love acceptance. We talk about acceptance all the time.
Yeah. When I first started learning about acceptance, I had a hard time with that because I didn't want to accept things I didn't like. And then I realized acceptance does not mean you have to like it.
Right.
But when you deny it, what happens? Like, think about that beach ball, right? You're in the pool, you've got this ball, and you're pushing it and you're pushing it down. You're denying. And that which we resist persists. And the velocity that can hit you in the face is harder than if you just looked at the ball in the first place.
Oh, I love that analogy. That's cool.
Yeah, it's very easy to visualize. If we don't accept what our situation is, we cannot transform it. And I'm not sure if we're going to have time, but I do love this Rumi poem, which talks about the guest house as being a person. and accepting all the negative and the positive emotions. Do you want me to read?
Yeah, I would love if you would read that. I love that poem. It's beautiful.
Okay, so do I. The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome all and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Therein is gratitude. Well, yeah, he just says it so beautifully.
We do a lot of Rumi poems in Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. And I'm sure the insight is gorgeous.
And I'm sure you have focused on acceptance in order to transform.
I'm also in recovery. God willing, I will have 8 years sober in a couple of weeks. And I learned about acceptance through recovery. And you're right. I learned that with my alcoholism and with my chronic pain, I don't have to like it. And most of the time I don't like it. But if I don't come to terms with it, and we talk about this in the group too, like there's no place for you to move forward without acceptance. There's really you're stuck. I believe you're stuck stagnant. It's not until you can accept things that you can move forward with healing, right?
Yeah, and absolutely. And the opposite of acceptance is denial. And both mental illness, like depression and addiction, are diseases of denial. They're diseases that tell us we don't have one.
Right.
And since you can't take a blood test for that, it's easier to deny, and we can rationalize, justify, minimize things. But then you're right, we're stuck. Yeah. And that's not a great place to be.
No, it's not. We've got a couple people commenting. Let's just say hi to a couple people. For those of you that are joining us, please feel free to comment about acceptance. Anything that Dawn's sharing about tonight, please feel free to ask questions, comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts on acceptance and whether you've been able to come to acceptance with the pain, either physical, emotional, or both that you deal with. Hi there, Heidi. Arlene, hello. Pamela's here. Linda Kanaliki is here. Hello. Glad that you're here. Facebook user, I say this each week, if you're watching from inside Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, because we're a closed group, unless you give StreamYard permission to use your likeness and name, I can't put it on the screen. So if you log out and log back in, there should be a link at the top of the post that, let's see, do I have it? It should look something like this. Click on that if you want your name to show up. Because we'd love to know who you are. And if you don't want to do that, if you want to just, tell us who you are, that would be great. Who else we have? Let's see. Everybody say hi to Dawn. All right, Facebook user, hello. I'm sure we know who you are. Hello, friends. Hey, Jill Cook. Jill Cook is the one who told me to rethink the teen boy thing. So thank you. Thank you, Jill. Here's a comment. Denial is a full-time job and exhausting. It leaves no room to fight for the things that bring us joy.
Beautiful.
Yep. So true. So, yeah, getting back to acceptance, for my alcoholism, I ended up having a very bad rock bottom, which landed me in rehab that I couldn't really talk my way out of because I had 2 DWIs and I didn't have a leg to stand on when it came to arguing with it. But I was in a chronic pain program at rehab. I was lucky enough to be there. So in my mind, and what I would tell people is I'm going to the chronic pain program, when in reality, I got to the chronic pain program because of a really bad alcohol problem. So I don't remember where in my journey at rehab I finally accepted the alcoholism part of it, but it was a very freeing feeling, Dawn, when I finally accepted it. And the same, I go to Chronic Pain Anonymous meetings, which are 12-step based as well. We talk about acceptance all the time. And same with my illness. Like I said, unless we accept it, we can't move forward.
So true. And as we said, those are sometimes diseases of denial. I just want to clarify from the introduction that addiction is now considered a substance abuse disorder, and it's on a spectrum. And the end of the spectrum is dependence, which we call alcoholic or a drug addict addiction. Before that, there's abuse. And what I'm trying to do with people who have not yet become dependent, help them so they're not abusing the substances. But some people choose that path. If they have become dependent, then, I believe abstinence is the way to go. But it can be, some people can say, wait, you're saying you can drink? And no, not if you're dependent, but if you're abusing, let's look at that. My whole goal is to be mindful. And that is one of the strategies I have here. Are you ready for forgiveness?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you a question. Yeah. We talked about this in our last meeting, and you had mentioned you felt with the pandemic, you were seeing more people that were dependent on alcohol, weren't you?
Yeah, many, and particularly women. People are stuck home, they're isolated, they're scared, they're bored, and the alcohol abuse consumption and substances has really been on the rise. And people think it's going to make them happy, and they just end up more depressed and sadder. So it's been a terrible time for that. But it can bring you to awareness, right, with acceptance.
Yeah. For me, it was alcohol was that was my pain medication. I had pain medication. It never really did anything for me, but alcohol did, and it helped until it didn't. And it was my problem was very bad, and I was very dependent. So I'm glad that I, for today, am no longer dependent on alcohol. It's amazing. It's just a beautiful life. I'm so grateful.
I'm grateful too. And I didn't like that. How can you be grateful if you're an alcoholic? But because you get the whole world back.
Exactly. So what do we have next after acceptance?
Forgiveness. And, forgiveness, I think, often needs to begin with the self, because we may think, what did we do to get this condition? Why am I depressed? I have such a great life. Well, it's an illness. I'm a terrible person. That's why I'm addicted to substances. No, it's an illness. So the acceptance that it's an illness, and then the forgiveness. And then you might need to forgive others, like the doctors that maybe
so many botched surgeries we have in the group, people that have had botched surgeries. That's a tough pill to swallow, pun very much intended on that one. People with botched surgeries. How do you forgive a doctor that screwed your surgery up? But I know what forgiveness does. Why don't you tell us what forgiveness?
Well, forgiveness frees the person who was harmed of the mental obsession and resentment, which only hurts them. You probably heard the analogy of, resentment is like taking poison and waiting for the other person to die. They don't.
It's a great analogy, but it's so true.
Yeah, but the misconception is it's not forgive and forget. It's forgive so that you can win and that you can take control. It's happened. It comes after acceptance so that you can move forward. And often it's such a challenging thing to do, but sort of like acceptance, when you accepted that you had this issue, it's kind of freeing. It's like the weight is removed. So really, we forgive to heal ourselves. And because the other person isn't suffering from your lack of forgiveness anyway.
And like you said, forgiving ourselves too. A lot of us feel like we either caused our illnesses or we resent ourselves because we couldn't cure ourselves. A lot of us spin our wheels I know I did. We spin our wheels for years and years and years, trying the next treatment, trying the next doctor, and that just because we come to acceptance doesn't mean we have to stop looking for answers and all of that, right?
Mm-hmm. But
I
the
just because
resentment is,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, the resentment is just, it's, there's no healing with resentment. There's no moving forward. It's another way of being stagnant, but it's also, they find people who forgive have a happier quotient in their lives.
Right.
They are more calm and peaceful and have more serenity. So it's what we do for us, and starting with ourselves.
Do you have any tips, Dawn, on how to best go about that? I know it's easier said than done, but
Yes.
with your patients, like how would you tell them to go about going through the process of forgiving someone or ourselves?
It's kind of similar to step work that people use in 12 steps of different recovery programs. And it's a way where you might look at, who are you angry at? Why are you angry? Did you have a part in it? And then what's the next step? Forgiving yourself and then that person or institution or, school, and things that have, even the disease. And I would suggest it's as a writing exercise. Sometimes people do it. It's like, it can be a 5th step. If you did the 12 steps in recovery, you can write it and you can burn it and let it go. And if you have to do that more than once, it helps to like physically write down what it is that you're upset about, and then that you forgive them. And it's
That's
kind of
a great idea.
Yeah, fake it till you make it in a way. If you have to keep writing it down, or some people put it in a God box, or lighting it in a fire and trying to just let it dissipate. That can help actually physically doing something.
That's a great idea. Many of us keep journals, sometimes gratitude journals, but a lot of us do journal. That I never really thought about that for forgiveness. That's a great idea. And even I know a friend of mine and my mentor from the rehab program I was at, Dr. Bruce Singer, he had us write a letter to our pain when we were there. And then after a couple of weeks there, like towards the end of my stay, he had me write a letter from my pain back to me. Wow. And it was really interesting to hear the voice that my pain took on. It was much nicer than I expected. I read it on the air a long time ago, but it was a really good exercise to go through for forgiving myself, for sure. Having compassion and forgiveness. Did I just give something?
Yeah, you gave away the next one. But before we get to compassion, I just want to say, there's a book called The 4 Agreements you probably know of.
Oh, yes.
And one of them is take nothing personally, and another is make no assumptions. And I like the phrase, I take no offense when none was intended, because people can be offensive, but they don't mean it,
Oh, I love that.
Right.
Take no offense.
Take no offense when none was intended.
Great.
So, I mean, my husband loved him to death. I might say, how do I look in this? And he'd say, oh, you look great from the waist up. Or I love him. And I have forgiven him for that. He was not intending to be offensive. He was just, this was 40 years ago, and I haven't let go of it, I guess. The poor guy. But, making no assumptions and not taking everything personally.
Yeah.
But it's not about me. Well, that was, but it was loving. It wasn't.
Men just don't even think when they say things like that. Yeah. Let's take a couple more comments we've got through. So far we've got acceptance and forgiveness. So we want to hear from you guys what you have to say about that stuff. Let's see what we've got here. All right, technical issue. No, it doesn't show your name, Facebook user. I apologize. But if you want to write in again, you can just write your name at the end and we'll know who you are. Here we go. It's Sherry Oliver. Oh, no, Sherry Oliver's having the same problem. Mine usually shows up. That's okay. That's okay, guys. Jill Cook says, wow, amen to that. Absolutely. So let's see. Yeah, so what's number 3?
Number 3 is compassion.
There we go. I gave it away.
And yes, that's okay. Once you have acceptance and forgiveness, it's just the next stage of moving forward. And I definitely think we need to have self-compassion. And so there are techniques for that. Maybe you've talked about meditation or loving kindness meditation. Well, I will share that with
loving kindness. I would love for you to talk about it, though.
Sure. But I will start by saying that people often think they need self-esteem to feel good about themselves. And self-esteem can be cultivated. You do esteemable things, but it's more, that's an extrinsic sense of value in a way. I was voted for this. I came first in my class. I won the best cheesecake contest. That's all from external motivation. The intrinsic value comes from self-acceptance, but even stronger is self-compassion. Life is difficult. It's everybody struggles and has pain and suffers. It might appear that some more than others, but the self-compassion it's from a Buddhist tradition, but it increases the capacity for forgiveness, connection, self-acceptance, helps us learn to give and receive love. And, if anybody's interested, you could pretty much Google loving kindness meditation or metta meditation, but the practice is, shall I just give you a brief version of it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. You would be prepared to meditate, sit in a quiet place, all that. And you start by saying either out loud or in your head, may I be happy.
I've heard of this.
May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I be at ease. Then, after you ask it for yourself, you think of someone you love and you hold them in your heart and your mind. And this is easy to do, right? For somebody else that you love. And you repeat those things: happy, healthy, safe, and at ease. Then you pick somebody neutral, the UPS guy, your bank teller, the dog walker over there. May they be same thing. And then the last can be the most challenging, and it is for somebody you are having an issue with. Somebody that's difficult to love, somebody that's difficult to be compassionate about. And often, there's a saying that those who are the most difficult to love are the ones that need it the most. And I find that those who are the most difficult for me to love are the ones that I need to love the most.
Yeah.
So that would be the last part of the practice. And, that's like when we talk about praying for other people or whatever, and it's so hard to do. But with this, may they be happy, healthy, safe. And
is that Sharon Salzberg's work, The Loving Kindness?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Sharon Salzberg. It's a Buddhist practice. But yes, Sharon Salzberg. And the self-compassion piece, Kristen Neff, are you familiar with her?
Yes.
She teaches a lot about self-compassion, and she does use the loving kindness meditation as part of the practice of self-compassion. But our culture has a difficult time being compassionate to ourselves. The voice in our head is not a friend. If you go in your brain, you're behind enemy lines.
I haven't heard that one before.
Right? It's a bad neighborhood.
Behind enemy.
The voice you're hearing is that itty bitty shitty committee. It's not, a friend. So we have to counteract those negative voices with something loving and compassionate.
We do. We're very tough on ourselves. Very tough on ourselves, and I think, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I think social media does not help, because we see everybody's highlight reels, don't we? We see everybody doing these wonderful things, signing book deals, all of that stuff. And we're not seeing, the suffering that they may go through. So I think we've put unrealistic expectations on ourselves to do these things, especially for everybody. If you live with a chronic condition, we need to take a little bit extra good care of ourselves, because, we hurt already. Why make it worse on ourselves? So I think we constantly feel like we need to be doing instead of sometimes just being, right?
Yeah, I like the expression, are you a human? You're not a human doing. You're a human being.
Right.
Who are you being? Exactly. And so that's that intrinsic, extrinsic thing, right? Self-esteem is from the kind of the doing, and self-compassion is the being. You don't have to do anything great to have to be compassionate to yourself or anybody else.
Right. Right. And yeah, that can be difficult to do too. Do you have tips you recommend the meditation to help with that? Does that, like, the more you practice that helps with the self-compassion you feel?
Yeah. Because you start with yourself. You don't start with that person you love. You know, that little analogy we talk about, you're on a plane and the masks come down because it's an emergency and you're traveling with a child and a senior. You put it on yourself first, right?
Right.
You know, you don't just go to the youngest child, or because you'll pass out and you won't be helpful to anybody else. So it's kind of the same thing. We're not used to doing that as women, as a country.
Yeah, women especially. I think you're right. We're nurturers, we're caregivers. We take care of everybody else before ourselves, don't we?
And then you have compassion fatigue.
Right.
So you're so busy being compassionate about everybody else. So it's actually, sometimes it helps if you think that self-compassion and is helpful to everybody else in your life. Right.
I like that. Yeah.
And because we feel so guilty about trying just to focus on ourselves, but it is for the benefit of those who are around us.
Absolutely.
So that, I do love that, the meta prayer.
Yeah. Can you repeat that one more time, if you don't mind?
Sure.
May
I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I be at ease. And again, that's repeated with somebody yourself, starts with somebody you love, a neutral person, and then somebody you're having a challenge with. And they don't have to know you're saying this for them. It's probably better if they don't, anonymously,
Yeah.
Bless your heart. So I find that there is a practice too where you can include your community and you can extend it into the world and all sentient beings. Mm-hmm. So, may your community of what do you call them?
Attitude of gratitude with chronic pain.
But you say gratiteers, right?
Oh, grateful tears. Yeah, one of our members calls us grateful tears. Yeah, I call us gratitude gangsters.
There you can extend it to everybody in that group, and then all sufferers and all beings and the world. So that's another way to practice it.
Be a good thing to write down in our journal too. I would imagine. I know I'm going to write it in my journal. I love that. It's beautiful.
And again, you could Google it. There are other ways to other sayings or scripts for that. May I, be free from pain or fear, that kind of thing. Okay. So that would be, where are we? That was on the compassion, right?
Yep. Let's take a couple comments here. We've got Fran Sullivan. Hello, Fran. Glad you could join us. Pamela Creighton says, I have learned this practice of compassion at a mindfulness class. Very healing. Great, Pamela. That sounds great. Yeah, I went through the mindfulness-based stress reduction program a while back, and that was extremely helpful too. John, I forgot to mention this. How are we on time? We're okay. So I've been taking this 6-week course, seminar through a network for grateful living. I had Christy Nelson on the show maybe a month or so ago. She's the executive director of a network for grateful living. She wrote this book called Wake Up Grateful. And so she was offering this 6-week seminar on Tuesday nights where we talk about gratitude and all that stuff. And this week on Tuesday, I was beat. I had a crazy day and I wasn't going to go live. I figured I would just catch the Zoom recording. And I'm so grateful that I looked at the email with the summary of the night, because John Kabat-Zinn was the special guest. So you better believe I tuned in live, and what a privilege that was to have him live on the show with Christy. So it was my little John Kabat-Zinn. He did me and several hundred other people, of course. But
I spent a week with him.
Did you really?
Others on an Omega retreat in the Virgin Islands, and his wife and his kids. And he is just wonderful, wonderful. You know, somebody to aspire to be in that. Not only does he practice what he preaches, but he teaches, and that's what you do too. So it's a great gift.
Yeah, he's helped, I mean, millions of people through his programs. He really is just amazing.
Catastrophe living.
Wow, that's fantastic, Fran says. Great. So let's see, where do we leave off? Compassion. What's number 4? Permission to be human.
Yeah, permission to be human. This kind of goes, it kind of follows everything that we've been talking about. It's a mindset change where a good example is in failure, right? When we look at things that we aren't doing perfectly and we think it's a failure. And when I was studying the positive psychology, we learned about some famous failures, so-called failures, and I will tell you a little bit about them. So let me see. This man has 1,093 patents. He failed over 10,000 times in trying to create a commercially viable light bulb. A reporter asked how it felt to fail so many times, and Thomas Edison said, "I have not failed 10,000 times. I have not failed once. I have succeeded in proving that those 10,000 ways will not work. When I have eliminated the ways that will not work, I will find the way that will work."
That's awesome.
Yeah. What if he gave up after 9,000 times? Right? He's
That's
just
awesome.
Yeah. So I do too. This man was devastated when he was cut from his high school varsity basketball team his sophomore year. But it inspired him to work even harder. And he is Michael Jordan.
He was cut from his high school basketball team? Wow.
Yes, and there's a quote from him I like about failure. He says, "I have missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I have lost almost 300 games. On 26 occasions, I have been entrusted to take the game-winning shot, and I missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." So the phrase I really like is learn to fail or fail to learn. And again, it's part of our culture. You know, you don't fail. You don't let anybody know if you failed.
Right.
But if you don't learn to fail, you're not going to succeed. You're just going to quit.
Right.
And if any of these people had quit. Do you want one more failure?
Yes, please.
Okay.
These are great.
So this, I'm not going to give you the dates because that might give it away. But the one year he lost his job, and that same year he was defeated for legislature. Then he started a business the following year and he failed. 2 years later, his sweetheart died. But that same year he was elected to the legislature. 2 years after that, though, he had a nervous breakdown. He was then defeated as speaker. 2 years later, he was defeated for a nomination to Congress. But he kept going, and 3 years later, he was elected to Congress. 2 years later, he lost the renomination. Following year, he was rejected for land officer. 4 years later, he was defeated for Senate. 2 years after that, defeated for nomination for vice president. 2 years later, again defeated for Senate. But 2 years after that, he was elected president, and he is Abraham Lincoln.
That's amazing.
Failure.
I did not know all that.
Failure. Yeah. But he persisted.
Yeah.
And yet she persisted. He persisted. So part of permission to be human is definitely looking at yourself and saying, I am enough. I am enough. I am human. I'm a human being, not necessarily a human doing. And it's a change in your mindset. So
yeah, that can be difficult too, can't it? Like, you know, I talk a lot about being authentic, authenticity, you know, showing our ugly warts and all. For me personally, I try to think of it like this, that I relate to people that show their authenticity. I like going to somebody's house where it's a little dirty and cluttered. I relate to that. Much more so than if I go somewhere their house is perfect. I like authentic people, so I have to remember to put that back on myself and think that they're going to like me or relate to me better. I should say, not like me, but relate to me better if I show my authenticity as well.
Yeah, and they might even like you less if they think you're perfect.
Right.
They're not going to want you to, if your house is perfect, they're not going to want you to come to theirs, perhaps. So yeah, authenticity is part of the permission to be human. And I love it. I would much rather have 2 authentic relationships than 20 social ones or, societal ones.
Yep.
And authenticity is accepting your warts and others. Right. So again, though, we have that itty bitty shitty committee that's telling us we're no good, we shouldn't do this. And we say, no, I'm human. Right. I'm human. And I have my strengths and my weaknesses. One of the goals I have for my clients is for them to accept themselves, warts and all. Sometimes I can be generous and sometimes I can be a little greedy or selfish or compassionate or judgmental. I don't like those negative things, but I'm not walking on water yet. So I think that's really important. Authenticity in friendships, in yourself, in expecting of others. Because that's all we have, really.
Yeah.
Real.
When I eventually, came to that acceptance with my alcoholism and all that, it took me a while to sort of come clean to people that I knew about my alcohol problem. Surprisingly, I surprised a lot of people because I was kind of I didn't really leave the house. I completely isolated at the end, so people didn't necessarily know. But that's part of the reason why I'm so open about my alcoholism now is, one, I want to reduce the stigma and show that, yes, the former PTA president of Bethlehem Township, New Jersey, can be an alcoholic. And it happens, to all of us. We are human. And, it's not a moral failure. Like you said, it's a disease. I've got a lot of ugly warts. I try to show them all and try to set a good example for people. But we talk about that a lot in the group. And you're right. It's something that a lot of us think we can't do, is show our humanness.
Exactly. Humanness. And what it is, permission to be human and to be enough, that you are enough exactly as you are. And, when you can be that and show that to friends and family members, what a relief for them to be able to do that too.
Yeah.
Right? To be real. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever read The Velveteen Rabbit, but this rabbit is a little stuffed toy and it's loved so much that parts of it are worn off and torn, but it's real to the little boy. So we want to have authentic relationships and see ourselves authentically, which is the acceptance of the good and the bad.
So I think you can't really, and you tell me if I'm wrong, I would venture to guess that you can't really fully connect with people unless you're authentic. Mm-hmm. Unless you're, and connection is something we talk about a lot too, because many of us with chronic pain and illness, we isolate. So very similar to alcoholism, but we isolate. We don't want to talk to anybody. We think nobody understands, and that connection, that talking to other people who understand and feeling like you're not alone, knowing that you're not unique. See, there's so many similarities to alcoholism with the chronic pain thing. They're very much in tandem. Having that connection with people and not feeling alone is, again, such a feeling of relief.
Yeah. And it's, that's not one of my, steps, but it's certainly key is to have community and to be relatable and to relate to others and to share. And that's what you do every week when you show up and do this show. And when you have your site and guests, you are authentic. You are as authentic as they come.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment. Thank you.
And so I think that's another gift. It's taking something that might seem negative, an addiction issue, or even just a character defect, right? But saying, hey, this is who I am, and I like me, and you might have that too, and I like you. And it helped. Yeah, it's a wonderful gift.
And it doesn't hold power over me anymore. Once I was able to talk about it, it was like, ugh, nothing's holding power. It's not holding power over me anymore. It just is. It just is. It's not this big bad thing that I've got to hide anymore.
Exactly. And there's that expression that I like. We're only as sick as our secrets.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of, it goes back to that acceptance thing. Like we push it down. We go, oh no, it's denial, and it's festering. I'll just sweep it under the carpet. Well, there's things living under there now. Mold. Stop sweeping it under the carpet.
Looks like we have a comment here. Let's see what we've got. Arlene, I love to show my flaws or things that I have done wrong because I want to show my grown children how to move forward.
Beautiful.
Good point, Arlene. Great point. Yeah, Arlene, you're about as authentic as they come as well, my friend. I adore you, and part of the reason is you do. You show it all. You're absolutely adorable, and I think I relate to you because of your authenticity. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody that wants to comment, please feel free. We still have some time. I can get some comments on with anything that Dawn's shared. We've got it. What are we? Acceptance, forgiveness, self-compassion, permission to be human. What's next? Dun, 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 number 5.
Cultivate a sense of awe. And this is basically what gratitude is. We had talked earlier that that what you appreciates, right? It grows. And it's so easy to go through life and not see the beauty around us and not have an appreciation. And therefore, we lack gratitude. So I think part of being grateful is seeing, savoring with awe the things that are around us. I'm going to misquote it. If it was Einstein, he said, either everything's a miracle or nothing's a miracle.
I like that.
So there are a few tips for this one. And one is, of course, everybody knows the gratitude journal. But have you heard about the gratitude photo?
No, I have not.
So you just use your little phone. And, we run around taking pictures of everything or, mindlessly. Maybe we take a picture of a great dinner and put it on Instagram. I don't know. But they did a study at a university, and they had the control group was to take a picture every day, whatever they wanted. A bike rack, a building, just anything they happened to see. The other group was asked to focus on something new and unusual, something that they thought was interesting. And they found that of the two groups, the ones that started to cultivate the awe in their surroundings had lower levels of inflammation and stress, healthier heart rates, better sleep, higher levels of social well-being, and stronger feelings of connection to others.
That's amazing.
Right? Mindful photography, great gratitude photos. And that's easy to do. And can you imagine looking back and seeing, oh yeah, when that cicada just emerged from, or the blossom on the cherry tree, and one of the things is after, during the pandemic, how we're getting to be a little more social now and seeing people, and now we're maybe getting some hugs where we might not have before, whatever. And we think, I'm going to be so grateful for everything. I'm going to appreciate everything because we lost so much.
Yeah.
But then, that kind of fades away.
It does. Yeah. So
if this was a daily practice, just to take a picture of something that was awe-inspiring, this is good for people who don't want to write, right?
Yeah.
Don't want to write that journal thing. But if you do like to write, another thing you could do is with your phone as well, text somebody on a daily basis. At the end of the day, thanking somebody or just showing your gratitude. So, thank you for waiting for me when I was late. Have you ever talked about that? The difference between saying I'm sorry and thank you?
No, I don't think I've ever talked about it in the show. I know it well, but I don't think I've talked about it. So why don't you share with us? That's great.
Well, let's say you're running late and you say, I'm sorry, or you interrupt somebody. I'm sorry. Well, the better way to look at it is with gratitude, saying, thank you so much for waiting for me. Right. And that is, you both feel better. Rather than I'm sorry I was late, and the other, yeah, you're late again. And now you feel bad about yourself and they feel bad about you. But thank you for your patience, right? Thank you for your patience. Yeah. It's another way of having gratitude. Instead of saying I'm sorry, where can you say thank you?
I love that.
So texting somebody every day, if you can, to say thank you for something is
a great idea.
Yeah, it's a mini version of a gratitude journal, and it's quick. But the last one, well, can I read a quote from Helen Keller? Do we have time?
Absolutely, please do.
Okay. So talking about walking around and taking a picture, and you don't go overboard because then it becomes mindless, right?
Right. Okay.
Mindfully, something that's lovely.
Good idea.
Helen Keller, this is a quote from her, said, I wondered how it was possible to walk for an hour through the woods and see nothing of note. I, who cannot see, find hundreds of things. The delicate symmetry of a leaf, the smooth skin of a silver birch, the rough, shaggy bark of a pine. I, who am blind, can give one hint to those who see. Use your eyes as if tomorrow you will have been stricken blind. Hear the music of voices, the songs of a bird, the mighty strains of an orchestra, as if you would be stricken deaf tomorrow. Touch each object as if tomorrow your tactile sense would fail. Smell the perfume of flowers. Taste with relish each morsel as if tomorrow you could never taste or smell again. Make the most of every sense. Glory in all the facets and pleasures and beauty which the world reveals to you. From A Sightless Woman.
That is gorgeous. I've never heard that one before. That is beautiful. I'm going to have to look that up. I will post that in the group, you guys, for us all to reread. That's a gorgeous quote. Thank you. Those are fantastic tips.
Let me give you one last thing about gratitude.
Yeah, please.
And you've probably done this. I don't know, like writing a letter to somebody who has affected you or, made you the person you are, has seen that seed of greatness in you and cultivated it and nourished it. Maybe it was a third grade teacher or, a person who's no longer living, and be that person for somebody else. Find in others their little gift. We can't tell our kids, oh, you can do anything. You're going to be great. You're artistic and you're musical and you're a math genius. No, if they are, great, but finding things that aren't true just takes away any meaning. Finding things that are authentic and pointing them out and showing them that you're grateful for that and nourishing that in them is the way to pay it forward. So those are my little hints.
We've got a couple comments, but before we go there, there was a quote from a member in our group today that kind of it's a gratitude quote. And since you're talking about a sense of awe, I wanted to read it to everybody. It was so profound, by Sandy Montgomery from the group, for those of you who are in Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. She says, gratitude is a calling, a sacred right. It breathes life into all it touches. Warm, it awakens the soul to light. Gratitude is a privilege. It is a mystery, making little into abundance, making dryness sing. The soul's breathing, a sigh in the night. Gratitude is joy. And that's by our own Sandy Montgomery. She posted that in the group today. And I did ask her permission for a closed group, but isn't that gorgeous?
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
I have goosebumps.
Oh, I hope you heard that, Sandy. So we've got a couple comments here. I think showing my flaws or weaknesses enables others to feel safe to be real with me. Then we can love each other as we are. Absolutely. Arlene says, I was eating dinner tonight, listening to your show, and I had just chewed a piece of warm food and then took a piece of watermelon. I giggled as the steam came from my mouth. This was a little moment of joy, small things, definitely. And she goes on to say, I did a project in 2014. It was the year of gratitude for me. I took a picture, had them printed, and put them in a book. Some days it was pictures of the feather duster my husband left out after he did the dusting, or pictures of my doctor. Fantastic. I look back at that book a few times a year. And I think this has to be our last comment because we're at 9 o'clock already. The Helen Keller excerpt reminds me of the quote asking, what if you only woke up with the things you were thankful for the day before? Heather Gray. Great. I'm glad you're here, Heather. That's beautiful. I don't know that I've heard that quote either. That's fantastic. Gosh, thank you everybody for contributing. Dawn, if you guys want to, let me share Dawn's website. You can find her at, hang on a sec, DawnHaleCoaching.com. Yes, DawnHaleCoaching.com. There she is. #1 life coach in Hunterdon County, 5 years running. She also has a Facebook page, which is in the ad for the show tonight. You can find it there. Do you know offhand how do they find your Facebook page, Dawn? Like what the name of it is? Oops.
Dawn Hale Coaching.
Dawn Hale Coaching. Great. So thank you. You've been a tremendous guest, and your tips are just unbelievable. I am so grateful that you came on with us today.
I'm grateful you asked me.
Thank you for gifting us with your light and wisdom. And thank you guys for tuning in. If you're tuning in live, if you're watching us recorded, thank you also. And again, DawnHaleCoaching.com. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, everybody who contributed tonight. We've got, let's see, Jill Cook. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. So I'll see you guys next week. Peace and love.
Thanks so much.
Got a new ending. Let's see what this new ending is. If I can try this one out. Here we go. Bye, everybody. Thank you.